Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, Africa as a continent is missing its influence per its position on the globe because of two missing factors: good leadership and exploitation of natural and human resources. These are the observations of former President John Agyekum Kufuor, sharing his experience as President of Ghana between the year 2001 and 2009. Former President Kufuor explains Ghana and, for that matter, Africa would have advanced in development if the leaders at the helm of affairs took the right decisions and implemented the right policies that will inure to the benefits of the national good, with particular reference to investing in the human resource capital extensively. He was speaking at a lecture organized by the John Agyekum Kufuor Foundation last night.
I had the big privilege and opportunity to try my hand at the helm of affairs, managing the states, presiding over the public sector, and at the same time using the public sector to facilitate and empower the private sector to create wealth, generate employment, and to help the nation move forward. By the end of my tenure, I had come to the firm conclusions that the missing factor denying us the chance to develop as we should on a sustained basis was good leadership. And that it was good leadership that would engender good governance, and it was the good governance of inclusiveness that would really yield the development that we all cried for. When I cast about around the continent of Africa, I saw that it was the same missing factor that perhaps could be blamed for plaguing this huge continent, sitting right in the middle of the continental arrangements of our globe. Which has held us back to make people more or less look down on things Africa. So I said, if that's the case, then go about setting up a foundation to become a guide to the up-and-coming youth. So they might nurture themselves, or would be helped to nurture themselves into becoming pragmatic, far-sighted leaders, not only politically, but in all aspects of life. So I founded this foundation and called it Leadership, Governance, and Development. Everybody wants development. We can't understand why, with all the natural resources at our disposal and with some fantastic human individuals who excel outside our countries and continent, we, within the continent and within our individual nations, can't seem to make it.
Now, debates have become an important part of the electoral process nationwide. Ghana is no exception. Though there have been no presidential debates yet this year, some debates have been organized at the constituency levels by the National Commission for Civic Education. These debates have, however, been fraught with disputes between some candidates, arguments and complaints over security. My colleague Ernest Menu chronicles some of them.
Unfortunately, to hear that the program did not come on, I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed in the organizers of this program, because I think that it should come on tomorrow.
A resident of Bawe disappointed that the parliamentary debate organized by the NCCE was called off due to the misunderstanding with partners CODEO and CDD.
The program scheduled for the parliamentary debate in Wejak Bawe could not come on because of what I would describe as the misbehavior of the NCCE regional chairperson. that we had understanding that it was a collaboration between CODEO, CDD, and NCCE. But unfortunately, the regional director of the NCCE had a different interpretation to the relationship.
When the CDD came to our office, they told them that they should go and bring an MOU so that we can disclose to UU. CDD never came back to our head office. We are supposed to, so if we are organizing our program, we are supposed to have our backdrops and things. Then he started insulting me. I am incompetent. I am irresponsible. Have I seen NCC organizing such a program like this before? Then I said, wait a minute. If I am incompetent, irresponsible, NCC cannot hold a program like this, why would you want to associate yourself with somebody who is incompetent and irresponsible? If you want to pack out, please pack out. Then they came and started taking their things out.
Apart from that, only the NDC parliamentary candidate Obobia Dakon showed up. Her opponent, NPP's Tina Mensah, cited security reasons due to the tension and threats among supporters. Just 2 days ago, the NCC debate at the Sunyani East constituency was called off due to the violent clashes between supporters of the NPP and an independent candidate there. There were gunshots with some securing machete wounds. The district director of NCCE asked the police to tighten security in the area.
So it's very, very pathetic for this thing to happen. And it tells us that we cannot say that we come 7 December, everything will be okay. It means that we will tell our brothers and sisters who are in the security agencies to also watch it, because they have been here to witness what happened here. So it tells them that they have a lot of work to do.
Only yesterday, similar tensions in Ewutu Senya constituency and concerns over security by the NPP's George Anda caused him to back out, forcing the debate to be postponed. Other candidates, such as the MP for Esutufi constituency, Alhaji Collins Dauda, and the CPP candidate Raymond Kofi Dankwa, have pulled out of the debate for various reasons, with security being key.
It's 25 days to Ghana's general elections in 2016, and as the days draw closer, political parties are intensifying their campaigns in a bid to get especially the undecided to galvanize their votes for them. Topical on their list is giving employment to the teeming youth, and so they tend to also couch their messages to attract them. The security services have also engaged the youth leadership of the various political parties to discourage them from fomenting trouble during the polls. But there are still some questions on what actually influences the votes of the youth. Are they following the issues as presented by the presidential candidates, or are they being influenced by family and friends? I have in the studio with me a first-time voter, Diamat Mukhtar. I also have Stephen Tetega here with me from the University of Ghana. And then I have here with me Seth Otain. He is the Executive Director of Youth Bridge Foundation. Thank you all for coming, and good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Great. So let me start with Diamat. You are a first-time voter, a level 200 student from the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Have you made up your mind already as to who you're voting for?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I've made up my mind already as to who I'm going to vote for. Yeah, and it's like, I'm not, you know, I'm not going to bring it out.
Of course, you don't need to mention the particular political party. But what are the issues that are informing your choice of who to vote for this year?
Well, there have been, you know, there have been arguments, you know, based on, you know, the sitting government, he, you know, being like following what he was supposed to, you know, he promised Ghanaians. But to me personally, I think, you know, every government, when every government comes on power, it's not all the promises that he or she made that is going to follow.
I'll come to you. I'll come back to you, Diamat. Let me find out from you, Stephen Tetega. You voted in the 2012 elections. Yes. It was your first time voting.
Yeah, that was the first. time voter.
And let me say that Stephen is a graduate of the University of Ghana. He studied political science. In 2012, what informed your choice?
Okay, well, in 2012, I think I was a first-year student then. And so as at then, I mean, I wasn't really looking about issues, jobs, I mean, who is doing this for me, who is doing that, because, I mean, what mattered to me then was, I mean, education, you pay your fees, you go to school, you study. And so it was basically about the personality of the candidates in the race. I mean, who appealed to me more, who I liked, that kind of sentiment actually informed my decision. Although I was following and knew some of the issues, I mean, that didn't shape my decision as at then, because I wasn't so much interested in, I mean, the talk of the day.
Okay, so if you say you voted based on personalities, was it how they looked, or how exactly?
Yeah,
what kind of personality traits influenced you?
Yeah, how they look count. I think their appeal to the youth count, how they're able to connect with their electorates as well. So someone you can relate to and say, oh, this is my president, I'm proud to have this person as a president. The way the person talks, commands respect and all that, that kind of charisma that is around that person attracts you a lot, because it's not a time that, let's say, maybe you are living on your own or you have kids to cater for. So, I mean, some pressing issues wouldn't be the first on your list of consideration.
I'll come back to you both. Let me bring in Seth Otin. Seth, you've heard these two talking about, you know, he talked about what influenced him in the 2012 polls. She's also talked about a little bit, she said she hasn't followed so much. I know you've done some studies in terms of youth and their participation in elections and all of that. Did what you found corroborate what these two are saying?
Precisely, Beatrice. They're not saying anything different. And if I should borrow what His Excellency Kufuor just talked about, what we learned, it's the absence of investment in our human capital. It's causing the missing link of good leadership. And the absence again of natural resources and human capital for the development that we desire. What they're talking about at university level, second year university level, the issues, there is a missing link, detached. So it's about the knowledge and understanding and appreciation of the youth in the political processes. Is it about the issues? Is it about what concerns their development that they are looking at? No, that is missing. You see, so let me take it from the culture of Africa, where the youth are marginalized. At the micro level, our homes, you're not supposed to be part of the discussions. Political level, you're not supposed to be part of the discussions. Go to campuses, there's no missing link. The political processes, they are not engaged. How do you expect them? You know, you recall about 6 months ago, we released a statement about the delay in the political parties manifesto. It's come out a month ago. Too short a time to digest the issue. Let them begin to appreciate the issue. So what are we doing? We have a situation where about 50% from 2007, I mean years back, decades back, close to 50% of those BEC students drop out, they fail. They never had the opportunity to rewrite the exams. Close to 2007, about 89% failed the WASSCE. 9 years down the line, where are those ones? Put that together. You have a bunch of youth who cannot appreciate. So what kind of citizenry are we breeding?
You mentioned one important thing, which is leadership.
Yes.
How does leadership influence somebody's decision to vote or otherwise?
You know, it's about grooming. Leadership, it's about grooming. There is, of course, there is a saying that some are born leaders, others could be groomed, could be taught. If at the university level, political science students have no clue as to the political processes and begin to appreciate the issues, he's graduated. Where does he find himself? He's going to find himself almost like the German would say, dropped in the cold water. That is the problem we have on our hands now. So you have a huge youth bunch who don't have the capacity to analyze and to appreciate the issues that concerns, to begin to worry about the statistics, how many of their colleagues have dropped out of school, and their colleagues who can't appreciate the issues. For me, the absence of that investment in the human capital, collaborated by what His Excellency Kufuor just mentioned, development and all of political processes, that unless we invest in the youth, groom them, let them begin to appreciate the issues, let them dissect the issues, let them dialogue at that level, we will just be following the crowd.
But there are also those who argue that at the university level, you're expected to at least have some level of maturity where you can do your own research, you can at least monitor what is going on without somebody necessarily telling you that you need to follow this, you need to follow that. So I think there should be some responsibility on the part of the youth as well.
You know, let us not even get into that level. If 1 out of 10 youth that started their mates end up at the university, then the 9, where are they? So the huge youth population that lack that capacity, granted that the university have the opportunity at least to appreciate some of the issue. How about the majority of the youth out there, the informal sector, rural youth, who can't even appreciate the issues? How do we communicate to them in the local language, that level? So yes, we can talk. I don't even want to look at the university level, but the majority of the youth. So the human capital, as His Excellency Kufuor just mentioned, my dear, it is a gap. Come to the university level. Here we are. It's not to talk about any scientific study or empirical. This is someone who was then at the first year or had at the first or second year. Someone is at the second year, does not appreciate. How do we engage them? A conscious effort to engage them, to let them appreciate the issues.
So I'll come back to you, Ms. Oteng. Diamat, you were telling me that you have not really followed whichever the messages have been. But for you, what issues are important to you as a student, a second-year student of the Ghana Institute of Journalism?
All right. To me, I think how we're going to improve, the education sector. When you go to the rural areas, for instance, you could say there are lots of kids out there who, if you approach, they are knowledgeable and they can be in school, but sake of 1 or 2 things, that's setting as a hindrance to their education, they are denying.
So let's talk about what you see as if a political party, this particular party was elected, would be done to improve not just the person in the village you're talking about, but you. What do you see as needs that you wish if a political party was elected can deal with it?
Well, I think they can go to these rural areas and, set, maybe appoint, let's say, someone who can help them. If a day the person can teach them, let's say A or B, set, something, I don't know how to put it.
What is the problem in the rural areas you have identified in terms of education?
Poor infrastructure. There are no schools. And poor infrastructure is like their schools looks somewhat, I don't know how to put it back. But if they are to improve the infrastructure, I think it will help them.
So you're looking at infrastructure of the education system in the rural areas. For you, Stephen, you're going to vote a second time this year.
Yes.
What issues are you considering?
Okay, well, now I've come to appreciate the issues more than the first time. And so this time we're looking at who is actually making investment into the lives of the people. I think that leadership is about people. And so we measure the success of leaders by the level of investment and then the improvement we are seeing in the lives of the people. So, I mean, has there been a quality of life? Has there been that rise in the standard of living for the people? I'm talking about the masses, not maybe a few people. So, I mean, I'm looking at the issues now. I mean, who is making more investment, infrastructure, health-wise, education? The quality of life is the focus now, creating jobs and all. Yeah.
But, okay, maybe I should come to Diamat. Do you think your family or friends would influence you going into this year's election?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Because in this modern Ghana, I don't think this influence thing is, something that, we should we should, you know, go with it, because to influence someone to vote, maybe you can tell the person when you go to your polls, the day on you voting, vote for this particular person. But when the person is going to the polls, you're not going to follow the person.
So I'm talking about you in person, who says that you have not really followed the issues. And if you have elderly people who have followed the issues and they tell you that we have tasted this party before, we have tasted the other party before, we think that this should be your best choice, you would say no?
Well, to me, I'm in the country and I know how things are going. So they can influence me, right? I just want to make a point here, like, they can tell me, but I'm in the country, I know how the situation is. So if they influence me, they tell me I should vote for this, and I know what they are saying is otherwise. It's not what I know it is. I don't think I can go with it.
Seth, I want to come to you on this thing about family influence. And I spoke with you earlier about how in 2008, when I voted for the first time, I also didn't really follow the issues, but I voted because, yes, the family said that this is the person or the political party that we should vote for. 2012, I made my own choice. How influential is the family in all of this?
Our cultural system forces or expects us to respect our parents and submit to them. You know, we are not groomed to challenge authority. So when in growing up, you're born into one political party color, the entire, and your father is so strong or your mom is so strong. Constituency chairman, who dare you oppose? You know, so that is very strong. And if you're not careful, you'll be positively or influence, you'll be going towards, it's going towards that direction. That influence, you can't run away. You know, unlike out there in the advanced country where a young person can rise up to challenge authority in the house, stop a parent from entering the room. You can't come to my room. You don't have the right, but who dare you, as long as you stay under. So that family influence is there. Now, the extent, I'll come back to that educational background, lack of that capacity to appreciate, to dissect the issues. Now, if you have someone dropping out of school, has not had the opportunity to go further, the children in the rural side, so passionate about what he talks about, comes up, the parents themselves do not appreciate, they just follow. Let me ask them, do you know about proxy voting? No. A lot of issues involved, CR94, CR97, what is to be done, these complex issues, and a parent comes and says that you have to go this way because they also rely on a third person's information. They'll follow. But if they have the capacity to dissect, to do the analysis, and educate their parents, they would appreciate the issue.
But who is to blame for all of this?
I think the lack of investment into human capital, for me, we are breeding illiterate citizens.
By who? Because if you're talking about investment, I don't think that you're talking about just government alone. You're not talking about probably the teachers in school alone.
You see, we should be asking the questions. Why should we have, over decades, more than 60–70% dropout? So the issue for me, the focus is not about infrastructure, but how do we deal with school dropout rates? Talking about education, infrastructure, talk about building, we have that, we have the rest, we have teachers' allowance and the rest. Do you check the quality of the teachers themselves? Go to some districts, we did a study, we went there, 0% pass rate.
Yeah.
0% pass rate. If you have the whole country having 78% failing, some districts, the whole district. So you talk to your parents, I said, and they said, there's no need for me to send my ward to school. So for me, that responsibility is about how do we drop this? There will be the talk about employment. But if you don't have the quality labor that cannot feed industry, what lies that? So it's a cycle. That we have to deal with. Education, deal with education, and that for me, for government, and I need political parties, having the answer. That is how we want to deal with school dropout rate, because amount of investment, education budget has been increasing. If you look at the budget analysis, you see the allocation to the Ministry of Youth and Sports is less than 1%, 0.5, 2 point something percent, less than 1% over a number of years.
So
education budget is high and it's increasing. But does it reflect in the number of dropout rates and the quality of labor ready to feed industry? That, for me, are the questions that I expect political parties in their manifesto, in their policy engagement, to be addressing if they would want to engage in address youth development issues.
And in fact, I want to pick on that and come to Stephen. You talked about the need for investment in education, in health, and other areas. So far, have you heard any of the political parties talk about these specific areas, and which specific programs really have you heard them talk about that you think could help the country?
Okay, so we have two major political parties, so forgive me if that should be the center of the discussion. Now, we have the ruling government talking about investment in health. They built this hospital here, Rich Hospital. They'll mention them. The community day, senior high schools, this factory, that factory. So we see some investment there. Now, the opposition will tell you that it's not enough. Let's bring in one district, one factory, nursing training allowances. So all of them are making some level of commitment that we'll do this and then we'll do that when we are given the power. That the question also is the fact that now, when we are approaching elections, people come with very juicy packages. This is what we have for you. So please get us, like, let's say, in the youth language, a guy proposing to a lady comes on, I'll do this, and paint that picture of heaven on earth for you. And you get into the deal, and I mean, the next thing is about excuses. No, because of this, you are not able to reach this. Because of this, you are not able to reach this. So we see a failure in them to keep to that agreement. So we could hear, for instance, one district, one factory. At the end of the day, we have reasons why one district, one factory won't work. Meanwhile, from the campaign time, that is what we've heard. And then in the last elections, for instance, now the sitting president tells us he's going to build 200 community day senior high schools. We don't have the number yet, and that has been extended as well. So it's more complex, because, I mean, them telling you the plans they have, and then you bind into that doesn't end it there, because when they are given the nod to Rule 2, they could meet it or they don't meet it. And no part of our constitution tells you that, no, if they are not able to do it, sack them to go home. So it's like you're at a loss at the end of the day. You settled for something that you are not having.
So does it mean that for you, you don't get attracted by what the politicians say?
Well, I'm looking at track record, like what you've been able to do over the years. And when I want to give in or give the mandate to anyone, I'm very careful not to be carried away by very juicy promises. Because we've seen instances where the promise is there, but I mean, you make it, but we come to power and you don't do it. So just by saying it doesn't attract me. But what have you done over the years? Were you able to, and what is that level of assurance? So I'm a bit skeptical about believing some of these promises. But at the end of the day, you still make a choice. It's like my lecturer would say, a choice between the devil and then the deep blue sea. You still have to settle on someone you think is better and then will serve the needs of the citizens.
Diama, what do you have to say to what Stephen is saying?
Yeah, I think I second what he's saying. You know, they all come with their promises, and at the end of the day, they are left with doing, let's say, half of it, or at least not even, you know, all. So I think, yeah, we shouldn't go on, you know, let's say, go on fulfilling, like, listen to what they have for us. I mean, we should think about our lives too.
Want to be carried away
because,
too
yes,
quickly.
because you, at the end of the day, like, you follow them, promise us this, promise us that, and at the end of the day, we are at loss, we have nothing to do.
So moving forward, what do you think could be done to address this situation?
You know, my heart bleeds when I engage the youth and then you see this level of ignorance and then our culture that, you know, shies away. Let me say that it is not the youth marginalization, it's not just in the political arena. In the corporate environment, the youth are again elbowed. So almost every sphere of our society, we are elbowed. The youth are elbowed. You know, that is where my heart bleeds. Now, he's talking about juicy promises. Again, the lack of capacity to understand and appreciate the issues. If that beyond election, there is open and inclusive governance, let me say that everything Kufuor highlighted are the statements that we have been making. And our 4 calls for political, you see, openness and inclusive governance. Youth, if you have close to 60% of the voter population representing the youth are the kingmakers. If they would understand the issues and their capacity, I wish we could do more. Build their competency to analyze their political parties' manifesto, hold them accountable, demand 6-year engagement youth forum. You go to Canada, the Prime Minister says that I want to be the Minister of Youth because the youth are critical. And he set up a youth advisory, bipartisan youth advisory committee advising government. You know, if we would have that every 6 months, engagement with the youth, accounting to the youth, and the youth who understand and appreciate who would put the political parties' manifesto pre-election, post-election, and accountability. That, for me, is the way to hold them accountable. That way, in the 4 years coming, the process continues. There will be come to think of it, in 2 years after this election, local governance elections is coming up. So if we start the process now, we build a human capital that can hold government accountable. But illiterate citizens who can't ask and demand ask the right questions, they take them for a ride. And it's dangerous. We might be sitting on the time bomb. It only takes someone to come and deceive them that this is the way to go, ignore them, and then it poses human security risk for us as a country. But let us invest in the youth.
Thank you, Seth. And Stephen, when Mr. Oteng was talking about in corporate offices where the youth, some of the youth are elbowed, I heard you say it's true. Any experience to share in 30 seconds?
There's not much experience to share. I've not been into the corporate world too. But then, I mean, when you are young, you go to the job market there, you meet people who have been there for years. Now, you are just like their sons or their daughters in the house. So, I mean, most often than not, it's become a daddy and son or daddy and daughter kind of relationship because they look at you like their sons or daughters. I mean, sometimes that is what happens where you are not, I mean, like he said, your age makes you look like, I mean, you are not there yet. We decide for you, do this, do that. Yeah, you go to some offices and like the workers are calling the man daddy, mommy, and that kind of relationship where the youth is not given a center stage, appreciated based on what they carry and what they can do rather than how they look and their age in that gap.
Diamat, any final words from you?
All right. My final words is like, when it's time for us to go to the polls, all right, we are all praying for peace. One peace, that's what everybody's praying for. I don't think when it's war in Ghana, everyone can escape it. Not everyone. At least, you know, those who are wealthy can escape, but what about us? So my final is like peace.
Thank you very much, two gentlemen and a lady. And so the lady you just heard, she is Diamat Mukhtar. She is a level 200 journalism student at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. And Stephen Tetega is a graduate. He studied political science at the University of Ghana, Legon. And Seth Oteng is a youth coach and the executive director of Youth Bridge Foundation. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio. Now, moving on to other stories, General Secretary of the National Association of Charismatic and Christian Churches, Bishop Titi Ofei, is asking Ghanaians not to vote for any politician who uses violence as means to settle scores. Bishop Titi Ofei became famous for his write-up titled From Bole Bamboy to Chebi, From Chebi to Bole Bamboy. It is far, yet I can't think far. In his peace message ahead of the 2016 polls, he says violent politicians don't deserve to rule Ghana.
We cry for peace. Lord, we cry for love.
My name is Bishop Titi Ofe, the presiding bishop of the Pleasant Place Church and the general secretary of the National Association of Charismatic and Christian Churches. Fellow Ghanaians, very soon we're going to have an election to elect who will lead this country for the next 4 years. We have chosen the path of democracy because we are sure that that will guarantee the future prosperity of this country. And we are also very sure that that will ensure that our children, when we are dead and gone, will also have the opportunity to lead this country. Democracy offers opportunity for everybody to have a voice and for everybody to have a say in our nation's affairs. Don't allow a good thing like democracy to become a bad thing for you or a bad thing for this country. Our fathers left this country to us in peace, and we must leave this country in peace for our children. We cannot leave this country in pieces for our children. In fact, we didn't grow up as refugees in another man's country. We grew up in the comfort of our homes, with our parents, and with our siblings, and with our communities, and with the people that we grew up with and attended school with. You could walk anywhere in this country at any time, to friends and everywhere, and you are happy. That is how our parents left this country for us. We want to leave this country for our children in the same way, and even in a better way. So let's not destroy this country. Any politician that will ask you to do something that is unlawful in order to secure a victory for that politician does not deserve to rule this country or to lead this country. Don't do it. You know something? There are people who love you and who appreciate you. And if anything happens to you, those people's heart will be broken. Most of these people who love you are not the people who are seeking power. They're the people who are farming in the villages and struggling to find food for your younger siblings and for your younger cousins and for your other people that you have left in the village. Your mother suffered to bring you this far. Your father had to struggle to bring you this far. Don't let somebody's father's or somebody's mother's desire to have power cause you to lose your life or go to prison. Whilst I'm talking to citizens to behave and to ensure that this country will be in peace, I would also like to speak to the key institutions that will facilitate the upcoming election to also be on their guards. I want to ask the Electoral Commission to ensure that this election is very free and fair, and the generality of Ghanaians will accept the outcome of the election. I'm very excited and very happy that for the first time, a woman is leading the Electoral Commission. You know, I grew up among women. I have 5 sisters, and my mother, 6 women around me. My big brother had traveled very early, so I grew up only among these women. I know the heart of women. I love women, I respect women, and I value women. And I believe that women are capable. And I know that the chairperson of the Electoral Commission will not disappoint women. I will not give room for chauvinists to raise their voice and to lift up their voice against women. And I want to encourage the chairperson to be vigilant, and we have confidence in you because you're a woman. You will lead this country in peace. Civil society must not take political positions. Civil society should be thinking about the people, not political parties. Be professional in your pronouncement, be professional in your research, and ensure that we will have peace in this country at the end of the election. Our chiefs have provided leadership at the local level, and they have contributed immensely to the development of Ghanaian democracy. And I'm very sure that our chiefs will not disappoint us again. The reason why the Constitution asks chiefs not to get involved in politics is because your position is very revered. And please, don't soil and don't bring that position into disrepute. Keep your head above all things.
And you're watching News Desk on Joy News on Multi TV.